Hello and welcome to Nullitaire Gaming, where we play games with 0 players. Or in other words, we play bots against one another. And in this series we're playing Falling Sky, the Gallic Revolt against Caesar. This is Volume 6 in the Coin series by GMT, designed by Andrew Ruhnke and Volko Ruhnke. Okay, we've started the game already. We're about halfway through the second campaign, I think. Anyway, if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I recommend going back and starting from the beginning. I'll put a link in the description of this video to the entire playlist, so you can go back to the beginning and watch it from there. Okay, so let's set up the game from where we were and let's continue on. Okay, the game is set up again. One thing to note is I seem to have lost this little marker that goes here. The real marker says something like most other allies or something like that. It's the victory tracker, victory condition tracker for the Aidui. I don't know, I seem to have lost that marker somewhere. I can't find it. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use this Aidui control marker for that. Okay, so we're back to where we were. And the next card up is Assembly of Gaul, and the Aidui are first eligible. Okay, so let's see what the Aidui want to do. Looking at their flow chart. First on upcoming but not current card. Well, they're first on both, actually. So, no. They may use the event, yes. Event ineffective or capability in the final year or no Aidui. Alright, we'll have to take a look at the event to see. Assembly of Gaul. So unshaded says the middle of Gaul. If Carnutes are Roman ally, subdued, or dispersed, drop one or more Gallic factions' resources each, -8. Alright, well, Carnutes is actually is allied with the Belgians, so no, this is not, this condition is not met. Alright, so this is ineffective. Okay, ineffective, so no. Battle would force a loss on enemy leader, ally, citadel, or legion. No, the Aidui are in no position to do any battling right now. It certainly wouldn't cause any losses on anything other than warbands or auxilia. So no. Okay, so 0 to 4 Aidui warbands on map. No, there's a lot more than that. Or rally would place citadel, alley, or 3 or more pieces. No, none of that's true. Right now, where the Aidui are, there's no space for allies. They can't make a city into a citadel. And if they were to add warbands, they would only get to add 2. So they wouldn't end up with 3 or more pieces. So no. Aidui have 0 to 3 resources and roll a 1 to 4. No, they have 6 resources. So, they want to march. So the march command says they can do this in any region with Aidui warbands. It costs 1 per region. And so they move the warbands as desired to adjacent regions and or flip them to hidden or remove scouted. If moving into or out of Britannia, no special ability. Okay, so there's 2 origin spaces they could choose. Mandubii or Aidui region. That's where they have warbands. We have to remember, though, that Diviciacus is in play. And so this allows, that doesn't say here on the card, but that allows the Aidui to use Roman auxilia as if they were their own warbands. And it also allows the Romans to use Aidui warbands as if they're auxilia. As long as that happens within one space of the Diviciacus piece. So it's possible that the Aidui could use these auxilia here or even these over here and march with those. Okay. So let's see what the Aidui are going to do. So it's a little tough to understand how to use the bots with Diviciacus. So let me just talk about the issues I'm coming up against. Okay, so here are the instructions on the Aidui player aid for Diviciacus. Okay, it says during Roman commands or defense, agree Only when Roman victory is less than 13, but not if they are scouting or battling the Aedui. Okay, so the Aedui will agree to the Romans letting the Romans use their warbands as though they were auxilia, as long as, the Romans aren't targeting them for any reason. That makes sense. Why would they why would they agree if the Romans are targeting them? And during Aedui commands, use auxilia as able while Romans agree. So the Aedui want to use the auxilia as much as they can, as long as the Romans are agreeing to it. Makes sense. Okay. Place auxilia only if non-player Roman and once no Aedui warbands are available. Okay, we're treating all the bots as though they're players, so for all intents and purposes, this means that the Aedui will never place any Roman auxilia using rally. Okay, and let's look at the Roman instructions as well on Diviciacus. Here it is. Okay, during Aedui commands, agree unless Aedui at victory, but not if they are raiding or battling the Romans. Again, that makes sense. So long as the Aedui are not winning, and as long as they're not targeting the Romans are like, okay, fine, use our auxilia as you like. Okay, during Roman commands, use warbands as able, but recruit none. So same sort of thing. The Romans will want to use the Aedui warbands as much as possible, but they're not going to recruit any. But they also are not going to come to the aid of the Aedui during battle. Okay, so all this comes to some interesting questions about how to deal with using each other's pieces. For example, I said that the Aedui could use these Roman auxilia right here and march them because we're within one space of Diviciacus right here. And so if the Aedui want to march, they could march those. And the Romans would agree right now. The Aedui are not at victory. They're not targeting the Romans, so that makes sense. But if you look at the march command here, the priorities for the Aedui, they want to move from one region to add hidden Aedui up to 3 regions where none. Okay, to add one hidden Aedui, well, do the auxilia count for that? Is putting one hidden auxilia into a space the same thing, according to this priority, or not? Or do I have to think of that as, no, just hidden Aedui, that's it. No auxilia. And if so, when would the Aedui ever use auxilia according to their flowchart priorities? So to give you a further sense of what I mean, think of like if the Aedui wanted to move this auxilia over to, say, this Germanic region over here. They could do that. They could march there because this origin region is within one of Diviciacus, so they could march. But now, this auxilia is now not within one of Diviciacus. So there's no way Diviciacus could actually, or the Aedui could use that auxilia to do anything over there, unless Diviciacus were to move closer. So it's almost as if these auxilia here count as Aedui right now, but as soon as you move them away, they are no longer Aedui. They become Roman auxilia again. On the other hand, if you move them, say over here, that would still be within one of Diviciacus, so maybe that would still count. Maybe that would still, in the eyes of the flowchart anyway, maybe that would still count as an auxilia. Anyway, these are some sort of issues that are coming up. Like how do we interpret this? I think what makes the most sense is treat it like Aedui, so long as it stays Aedui throughout the entire command. So if we were going to move it over there, then it would not be Aedui anymore. So that wouldn't be adding a hidden Aedui over there. That would be adding an auxilia over there. But moving it, say, this way, would count as adding a hidden Aedui to that space because it's still within one of Diviciacus. Okay, so anyway, I think that is a sensible way to interpret it, and would hopefully keep the bots from doing some truly idiotic things, like moving auxilia around that they can't even use later for their own benefit. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to interpret this issue, and we'll see what happens. So let's look at what the Aedui want to do as far as marching is concerned. They want to leave one Aedui warband per region and lose no control. They don't have control anywhere anyway. Okay, move from one region to add one hidden Aedui to up to 3 regions where none. Okay, first to enemy allies and citadels, then to those enemies with the most allies and citadels. Okay, well this definitely means they'll want to target the Belgians. The Belgians have 10 allies and citadels on the board. That's the most by far. Okay, and the only region where the Aedui could march from that would be able to reach at least 3 is the Mandubii region here, which is adjacent to 4 different regions that have Belgian allies or citadels. So they chose 3 of them randomly. I rolled to figure that out. So Bituriges is one of them, Atrebates is another, and Treveri is the third. So they want to move 1 warband to get 1 hidden warband in each of those spaces. The march says move the warbands as desired to adjacent regions and or flip them to hidden. So they end up hiding in this process. So they might as well move the ones that are already not hidden. Alright, so they'll move 1 here to Bituriges, they'll move 1 here to Atrebates, they'll move 1 over here to Treveri. Okay, and that'll cost them 1 resource to do that. Okay, the next priority for the Aedui is move, add, I think the word 2 is missing there. Move to add Aedui control to 1 region beyond or among the above. Okay, with fewest warbands needed. So they want to take control of a region by moving the fewest possible pieces to do so. Okay, well, using just using the origin that they already have, they could move 2 more pieces over here into Bituriges to take control of it. Or they could select the Aedui region and move 2 pieces over here to do the same thing. But that would cost them another resource to do that, because they'd have to pay for a new origin space. And they've already paid for this one. So it seems like what they'll do is simply move 2 more over here and take control of the Bituriges region. And that doesn't cost them anything because they've already paid for that origin. And that's actually another interesting point about using the auxilia as if they're Aedui warbands, because moving them wouldn't help the Aedui as far as adding control. The auxilia still count as adding to Roman control, even if the Aedui are moving them around as though they're Aedui warbands. So this is another place where the Aedui, if they're trying to add control, wouldn't actually even be interested in moving auxilia to try to accomplish that. Okay, anyway, I think that's the end of the march for the Aedui. So the Aedui would now like to select a special activity. So going over here, we see that they'd like to trade, but only if Aedui battled, or Aedui resources 0 to 9, or Aedui plus Roman resources less than 15. Well, one of those at least is true. The Aedui resources are between 0 and 9. They're at 5 right now. And Aedui are second eligible. No, they're not. They're first eligible. Or trade would add 3 or more resources. Well, trade wouldn't add 3 or more resources because trade only adds resources according to how many Aedui allies and citadels there are, or Roman allies and citadels, if the Romans agree, which they probably will. But this ally here is under Arverni control. So that will definitely not be in supply. This Aidui Citadel could be in supply as long as the Romans agree, because we could trace a line back to Cisalpina through Roman territory. But that's it. There are no Roman allies under Aidui control to count, so that wouldn't add any more, because trade says in supply lines add 1 Aidui resources, 2 if Romans agreed. For each Aidui ally and citadel, each subdued tribe under Aidui control, and if Romans agreed, each Roman ally under Aidui control. Well, the Aidui only controlled this area right over here, which they don't have. There's no subdued or Roman allies there. Okay, so they would only get 2 for this area here, even if the Romans agree. So that's not good enough for trade, which says they want at least 3. Okay, so that didn't work. So they'd rather suborn in 1 region or in 2 regions if I'm shaded that thing is in play. It isn't. Okay, so just in 1 region. They want to place an Aidui ally if possible. But suborn says, let's see, any region with a hidden Aidui warband. Okay, well, there's several such regions now that they just marched around. 2 resources per ally, 1 per other piece. Remember also that since Diviciacus is in play, special abilities can only be done within one region of where Diviciacus happens to be. Okay, place and/or remove up to 3 pieces there total. Any factions, at most 1 piece may be an allied tribe, not citadel. Place ally at subdued only. Others must be warbands and/or auxilia. So let's see where they want to do that. Well, there are only 2 places that are within 1 of Diviciacus and have a hidden warband, and that's here in Mandubia and here in Bituriges. They can't place allies in either of those places, so that doesn't do anything yet. Okay, second priority, if none placed, remove an enemy ally. Enemy with the most allies in citadels, non-player Romans last. Okay, so they'd like to remove an enemy ally. Belgians first if possible. Well, Bituriges has a citadel, so they can't remove that. Mandubia does have an enemy ally there, and Lingones has an Arverni ally. So I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to select that area and remove that ally. It cost them 2 resources to remove that ally. Very expensive. And, okay, so they did that. So next priority, place all Aidui warbands able. So, Suborn says that they can place and/or remove up to 3 pieces. So they can put 2 warbands in there if they like. And they'll have to pay 1 for each of those. Okay, so that's what they'll do. Add 2 warbands, and that will cost them an additional 2. Alright, the Belgic tribes are up next. They could take the event, or they could do a limited command. So let's see what the Belgae want to do. So Ambiorix, or 4 or more Belgic warbands, where non-German enemy has an ally citadel legion, or 4 or more pieces. Yeah, this is definitely true. I mean, you can see it right here in the Atrebates region. There's Ambiorix, and we can see some Roman allies just sitting there. The Belgians would definitely like to bump those off, I'm sure. Okay, so they would like to battle. So only where Belgic losses less than enemies and no loss on Ambiorix. So it's pretty clear that the Belgic tribes are not going to lose, are not going to have to take any losses here, right? The allied tribes are not going to be able to fight back. So they're just going to be destroyed pretty easily. Okay, well, let's go through it. Make sure we do everything correctly. So they're going to have to pay 1 resource for this battle. And here we have the procedure, but it's easier to follow along with the flow chart. So let's just go through it. So first the attacker selects a faction to defend. They're going to select the Romans. Second, the defender can opt for retreat, but that's not possible here because they have only non-movable pieces. To make this clear, here in the rulebook, retreat. If the defender did, here, declare retreat. Unless a defender is facing an ambush, is Germanic, or has only allied tribes, citadel or fort pieces. It declares whether it will retreat. Okay, so you have to have some movable pieces, basically, in order to retreat. So, no retreat. Okay. There's also no ambush going on here. The Belgae can't ambush because this is a limited command. Not that they would probably want to anyway. But in any case, that takes care of that. Okay, so there's no retreat. So now the attack. Defender has a citadel or a fort? No. There are only 2 allies there. Okay, so the defender takes normal losses. Allies, forts, and citadels last. Okay, so we have to figure losses. We determine how many losses, and then the owner has to resolve those. So, defending against Caesar or Ambiorix? Yes, the Romans are defending against Ambiorix here. So, the warbands count for 1 each. Okay. So, that's a lot. 9. Plus the leader. And the leader counts for 1. So that's 10. Alright, so the Romans have to suffer 10 losses. So they have to choose their pieces. They don't. They have only allies, so they just remove it. They don't get to roll to see if they can save it. Just remove it, and since there's more losses, they keep removing the allies. Okay, so simple as that. Both allies are removed. They have to suffer 10 losses. There's still another 8 losses they'd have to suffer if they had more pieces, but they don't. Okay, so those allies are eliminated. Okay, and then we would have to carry on with the counterattack, but there are no pieces there to do the counterattack, so all attacking and defending survivors have to flip to revealed, and that's the end of the battle. Okay, the Belgic tribes had to pay 1 resource for that, and because that was a limited command, that's all they get to do. Okay, so now the next card is Joined Ranks, and the Arverni are the first eligible. So let's see what the Arverni want to do. So, Vercingetorix or 10 plus Arverni warbands where Romans or Aedui have an ally citadel legion or greater than 3 pieces. No, Vercingetorix still hanging out down here, but there's no enemies. And there's no place where there's more than 10 Arverni warbands. Okay, so that's a no. They could use the event. Yes, they could. The event's ineffective, capability, and finally, or no Arverni. Well, it is no Arverni. In fact, nobody likes this card. Nobody wants to take this card. Okay, so, yeah, it's no Arverni. 0 to 8 Arverni warbands on the map. No, there's more than that. Or Rally would place 2 plus allied citadels or 6 or more pieces. Well, I checked going through their priorities, and they would actually end up placing 1 ally in the Mandubii, in this subdued tribe right here, and then 5 warbands down here. So they just missed the mark on both of them. They would not place 2 or more allies to citadels, nor would they place 6 or more pieces. Oh wait, no, they would place 6 or more pieces. Okay, I read that as 6 or more warbands. Okay, they would place 6 or more pieces. Yeah, because they place 1 ally and 5 warbands. Okay, so they're going to rally. That's what they'll do. Okay, rally costs them 1 resource per region. And they can place an ally so long as they have Arverni control or Vercingetorix. Well, they have Arverni control here in Mandubii region. So they can pay 1 resource and put that ally back. Okay, so they'll do that. So that's the first priority is citadels. They can't do that. Second is allies, so they just did that. Now they'd like to place the most warbands. Okay, so if Arverni leader, ally, or citadel place warbands equal to their number plus 1. All right, so down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can place 5 warbands there. And that will also cost them 1 resource. Okay, the Arverni army is growing. So that's it for rally. Nothing more they can do there. So now they'd like to take a special activity. They'd like to devastate. Before battle, before or after march, after Valley of Rain. Okay, good, because we're doing it after. In each region, we're able to force removal of a legion or 2 auxilia, or at least as many Romans plus Aedui pieces total as Arverni. Okay, we'll have to check and see if that's all possible. Okay, well, Devastate says this can be done in any Arverni-controlled region within one region of Vercingetorix or with his successor. So it has to be Arverni-controlled, and it has to be adjacent or the same region as where Vercingetorix is. Well, there's no Arverni-controlled regions adjacent, so they can only select where they are. And they clearly don't want to devastate there. That would only affect them. So they don't want to do that. Alright, so moving on. Entreat. They'd like to try now. But they're going to have the same problem with that, as usual. They can only do this in region with hidden Arverni and within one region of Vercingetorix. Okay, again, the only region with hidden Arverni within one of Vercingetorix is this region, the Arverni home region, I should say. And they don't want to entreat there. There's nobody but them. Okay, so they end up not being able to do any special ability, so they did a command only. So they will go there. It's the Romans' turn now. They can only do a limited command, since the Arverni did not use a special ability. Okay, so let's see what they want to do. Caesar or Legion with enemy ally, citadel leader, or control, or where enemy battle or rampage now would force loss on Legion or Caesar. The answer is yes. The Romans have been just biding their time, waiting to take out these two allies over here. So we have some legions with enemy allies right there. Okay, so the Romans would like to battle in that space. So where Roman losses would be less than half of enemies and no loss on Caesar. Well, those allied tribes are not going to be able to fight back. So the Romans are not going to take any losses in this. Okay. Fight enemies meeting condition at left. Most allied citadels. Okay, so they definitely will choose that spot. Alright, let's go through the battle procedures then, just to make sure we do everything right. They're going to select the Belgic tribes to defend. They cannot retreat. The Romans also can't ambush, or I guess they don't have ambush. They have, anyway, they have besiege, but they can't do any special abilities because this is a limited command. Okay, so no retreat. Defender has a citadel or fort? No. So they have to take normal losses. Okay. Well, they're not defending against Caesar anyway, so the legions count for 1 each, and the auxilia count for half. So legions 1 and auxilia half. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you have to take 4 losses. Okay, and so since they have to choose allies, they simply remove them. There's nothing they can do to try to prevent it, so take 1 loss there, 1 loss there. Alright. And there would be a counterattack. There's no ambush, so there'd be a counterattack, but there's nothing there to attack. The Romans, therefore, now all attacking defenders and survivors flip to revealed, and that will be the end of the battle. Okay, that battle cost the Romans 2 resources. And now the next turn, the Aedui and the Belgic tribes are eligible. And it looks like the Aedui are up first. Okay, so they're first on the upcoming card, but not the current card. No, they're first on this card. They can use the event, yes. The event ineffective or capable in final year or no Aedui. Well, let's take a look. We have the Laurel on this one. So let's see if it's effective. This is called Dumnorix Loyalists, betrayed by Caesar's informants. Replace any 4 warbands with Auxilia or Idui warbands. They free scout as if Auxilia. Well, the Idui probably will like that. That is certainly effective. Okay, looks like the Idui are going to take this. And we have some special instructions, so let's check those out. So here are the special instructions for Dumnoric's Loyalists. Move no pieces on the scout. Scout hidden Arverni, then Belgae, then Germans. Okay. Does this mean that we want to replace... Does this mean that we should prioritize... because the... okay, let me see if I can say this right. Okay. Because it says they free scout, so it's going to be the replacements of these 4 warbands. They get to do the free scouting. So, should we try to do the replacements in such a way that we will scout hidden Arverni, that we're prioritizing scouting them first, since we're giving that priority? Okay, I'll have to think about that. Well, just looking at the general guidelines for the bots, it says if Belgae or Arverni target Romans, then Idui, then each other, then Germans. If Romans or Idui target Arverni, then Belgae, then Germans, then each other. So we get that priority anyway. Arverni, then Belgae, then Germans. So no matter how we think of it, whether we use these priorities or we use the general priorities, we get the exact same. We get the exact same result. Arverni, then Belgae, then Germans. Okay, so in any case, the Idui are going to take this event. They're going to replace any 4 warbands with Auxilia or Idui warbands. Okay, well, they're going to target the Arverni first. There's plenty of Arverni that they can replace. There's some here and there's some down here. So they're going to have to select 4 of those and replace them. So the Idui selected randomly among those Arverni, and they ended up choosing 2 from the Mandubii region and 2 from the Arverni region. I've left these 2 separate here because those 2 can now free scout there. And they can all free scout, but the problem is to scout they have to be within 1 of Caesar. So these guys are too far away to scout, too far away from Caesar. Okay, so but the Mandubii region here is adjacent to Caesar, so these 2 can scout. Okay, so so they're not going to move. The special instructions said not to do that. So within 1 region of Caesar or with a successor, flip hidden Auxilia to revealed as desired to reveal and place scouted markers in up to 2 warbands each in the same region. Okay, so they're going to scout all 4 of those Arverni warbands. So let's see what the Belgians want to do. First, Ambiorix or 4 or more Belgic warbands where non-German enemy has an ally citadel legion or 4 or more pieces. No, there's no space on the map like that now. So no. Belgae first on upcoming but not on current card. No, they're not first on the next card. They could play the event by the sequence of play. No, the Idui have already taken the event. Rally would add Belgic ally citadel 3 plus Belgic warbands or Belgic control. Yes, Rally would definitely add an ally up here in the Atrebates region where they eliminated the Roman allies there. They could now add their own allies. So yes, the answer is yes to that. So they're going to rally wherever they're able to place a piece. Replace a city ally with a citadel. They can't do that. They don't have any citadels available. So they're going to place all the allies they can first. Okay, we're looking at the rally command. It's going to cost them 1 per region or 2 if outside Belgica. In each region, if Belgic control, place a Belgic ally at a subdued tribe. Okay, so they can choose one of these 2 to place an ally there. I was thinking that the Belgae were going to just select randomly between these 2 spaces, but actually looking in the rule book for placing, moving, and removing pieces, it says place and move, own, and target or remove enemy leaders, then legions, then citadels of fort, then allied tribes in cities or at Remy, then other allied tribes. Well, that's interesting. So something special about Remy. I know there's some cards that refer to this tribe, so maybe that's why. But okay, the rules are telling us for the bots tell us to prioritize Remy before other allied tribes. Okay, so they're going to place an ally there, and that will cost them 1 resource to do so. All right, and the next priority for Rally, that's all the allies they can place. They now like to place all the war bands they can, but they only have 1 war band available. And it also says to try to add Belgic control. Well, there's only one place where they could put that 1 war band that would add control, and that would be here in Treveri. They lost control when this Aedui war band moved over here, but they bring 1 more war band in, they will now take back control. So they'll do that. Because this is outside Belgica, it's going to cost them 2 resources. The Belgai would now like to use a special ability. They'd like to rampage. Let's see, before battle or after rally or raid, with all warbands able to remove or retreat enemies. Okay, so rampage says regions with hidden Belgic warbands and within 1 region of Ambiorix or with its successor. Okay, so there have to be hidden warbands and it has to be within 1 of Ambiorix. Okay, and of course they want to use this to force enemies to retreat. So they only want to select spaces that have enemies. So it's really only these 2, Nervii here and Treveri here. But looking at the instructions, a faction, not Germans, nor any with a leader, citadel, or fort. Okay, well that's this area out. Not targeting the Germans, not targeting any faction with a fort. Okay, so Treveri's the only space they can do this in, and they can only target this Aedui piece right here. They can't target this Aedui piece because there's no hidden warbands over here. So it's just Treveri, that's it. Okay. So, so they either have to remove or retreat 1 of its warbands, auxiliary and or legions, per hidden Belgic warband there that flips to revealed. Those pieces retreat to 1 adjacent region under control of a faction that agrees. Alright, we're looking at the priority here. To force removal of pieces, assuming no one grants retreat. Okay. So assuming that no one grants retreat here, that Aedui piece would have to be removed because there's no Aedui controlled space that it could retreat to. If no one else grants retreat, then it would have to be removed. Okay, so they're going to do that. They're going to target that Aedui piece right there. And rampage. Okay, that's it. So now the question is, do the Romans permit the Aedui to retreat into Sequani? They can't retreat into German territory. They're not going to agree. This is a non-controlled territory. You can't retreat into a non-controlled territory. And obviously you're not going to retreat into Belgic territory either. So only the Romans could allow this. And looking at the Romans' priorities here, agreements, it says, retreat supply lines quarters, agree only to non-player Aedui. Now the thing is, I always treat bots as though they're players. So when I see non-player, I generally ignore that. But for this case, I have been playing that the Romans do agree to supply line, at least, for the Aedui. Because it would be a rather strange game if the Romans are like, nope, sorry, Aedui, we're not ever going to give you supply. Never. The Aedui would just be completely out of the game. And the Romans, you know, they benefit from some of the activities of the Aedui. So I've made an exception in this case to that bots are always players rule, and I've decided to allow this to also apply to our Aedui bot. Okay, so they will agree to retreat then. Okay, so the Belgians were assuming that no one would allow retreat, but they were wrong. The Romans allowed retreat. Okay, so there we go. That's the end of the Belgate turn. Okay, let's try to do one more card before we end this video. The Arverni and the Romans are eligible now, and the Arverni are up first. Okay, so looking at their flow chart, Vercingetorix or 10 plus Arverni warbands, where Romans are, do we have an ally citadel legion or greater than 3 pieces? Well, no. Vercingetorix finally has some company down here in the Arverni region, but only 2 Idui pieces, not greater than 3. And there's nowhere where the Arverni have more than 10 or more warbands. Okay. Okay, so Arverni, by sequence of play, may use the event. Yes, they can. Event ineffective, capability final year, or no Arverni. Well, let's go check it out. It's called Akko. So Arverni now, so we'll read the shaded one. Chief organizes revolt. In Carnutes and Mandubii regions, replace all allies with Arverni allies and citadels with Arverni citadels. Oh, interesting. Carnutes and Mandubii. Okay, so that would be here where there are no allies or citadels. And here, where the Arverni have a citadel and an ally, but there is one Idui ally there, so it would replace that one. Okay, so it would be effective. It would replace one ally. Okay, so it is effective. Okay, so they're going to roll a 1 to 4 and see if they'll take it. Actually, never mind. There's special instructions here because of the laurel wreath. So Akko says, unless shaded text would place in Arverni citadel, use the unshaded text. Selecting Arverni. Okay, so it would not place in Arverni citadel. Okay, never mind then. The Arverni are going to be more interested in the unshaded text. Okay, a Gaul or Roman free rallies or recruits in any 3 regions as if with control. Well, that's pretty good. Okay, so that is definitely effective. So we still need to see if they'll take it, right? I mean, okay, yeah. Okay, so they're using the unshaded text in this case, but we still need to see if they're going to do it. So they have to roll to see if they'll take it still. All right, they rolled a 5. So they're not going to take it, actually. So, no. All right, we'll carry on. 0 to 8 Arverni warbands on the map. Nope, lots more than that. Or rally would place 2 or more allies or citadels. No, it wouldn't place any allies or citadels. Or greater than 6 pieces. Yeah, it would place greater than 6 pieces. Okay, so they're going to rally. That's what the Arverni love to do most. Okay, starting with citadels, then allies, then most warbands. Okay, so they weren't able to place any citadels or allies, but instead they were able to place 2 warbands here in Mandubii for the ally and the citadel there, and 5 more warbands down here in Grigovia. Oh, I just realized, no, they can place 3 here, can't they? Because they get to add 1. Yeah. Rally for them says, if Arverni leader, ally, citadel, place warbands equal to their number plus 1. Okay, so they get to place 3 there, not just 2. Okay, and they take back control of that space. And they place 5 warbands down here. 2 for the allies, 1 for the leader, 1 for the citadel, and then another 1. Okay. Arverni would now like to use a special ability, but we know that they have difficulty making these work. However, it might be possible this time. I mean, they do have these 2 Idui warbands down here now. So it's possible something's changed. Okay, they like to devastate first. So let's see how that works. Okay, any Arverni-controlled regions within one region of Vercingetorix or with his successor. Alright, so the Arverni region would count. Okay, and the procedure, Arverni remove 1 in 4, each other faction 1 in 3 of their total warbands, auxilia, or legions from each region. Okay, place a devastated marker. That doesn't seem like a good deal for, for the Arverni here. Let's see if they want it. In each region, we're able to force removal of a legion, no, or 2 auxilia, no, or at least as many Roman plus Aedui pieces total as Arverni, no. Okay, so this would not be good for them. If they have to remove 1 in 4 of their pieces, they're going to have to remove, several. And the Aedui would only have to remove 1 in 3. So that's not a good deal for the Arverni. Okay, so they're not going to want to do that. They'd like to entreat instead. So let's remind ourselves how that works. A region with hidden Arverni within one region of Vercingetorix with its successor. Okay, replace either one warband or auxilia there with our Arverni counterpart. Okay, so this might work. Okay. Let's see if they want to do it. Replace enemy allies with Arverni. Okay, there are no allies there to replace. Replace other enemies with Arverni, auxilia, and Aedui warbands. Okay, well, there you go. We got some Aedui warbands, so they'll do it. Okay, so the Arverni replaced that one Aedui warband with one of their own. And that cost them a resource to do that. Okay, so they used a command and special ability. That leaves the Romans with either the event or limited command. So let's see what the Romans would like to do. Caesar or Legion with enemy ally, citadel, leader, or control, or where enemy battle or rampage now would force a loss on a Legion or Caesar. The answer to that is no. There's nothing really going on for the Romans as far as battle is concerned. They still have a bunch of legions sitting up there in Britannia doing nothing. These legions over here have already eliminated those allies. Caesar's sitting over here with a bunch of auxilia. There's some enemies there, I suppose, but not enough to force a battle because there's no enemy ally, citadel, leader, or control. Okay, so next, enemy at 0+ victory. Yeah, the Belgians are definitely past their victory margin. And Caesar with legions and 4 or more auxilia. No, Caesar's not with any legions. He hasn't figured that out yet, how to get together with his legions. Okay, so no. Romans may use the event. Yeah, they sure can. So we need to see if it's effective. Okay, so the unshaded portion says, flogging stirs response. A Gaul or Roman free rallies or recruits in any 3 regions, as if with control. Okay, well, yeah, that's definitely effective. That would definitely do something. All right, so they're going to take it, just like that. Well, since they're recruiting here, they're going to use their recruiting priorities. So build before recruit or scout after. Obviously, they're not going to do that because they don't get any free special abilities here. Okay, so they want to place all allies able first and foremost. Okay, well, they're free recruiting in any 3 regions. Well, all right then. I guess they'll just pick 3 regions and plop down 3 allies. They have enough. They have 4 allies available. Okay, looking at the general guidelines again for placing bots placing their own pieces. Again, bots always prioritize allied tribes in cities or remi first before other allied tribes. So I think that means that the Romans, even though they don't place citadels, they'd still want to block the Gauls from placing citadels. So I think they would pick cities where citadels are possible as their first priority. Remy already has a Belgae ally in it. Okay, so I think they're going to choose the cities first. So they're going to free recruit here, this region. We're placing an ally there. Then they'll free recruit in this region by placing an ally. Carnutes. Okay, and then that's it for all the cities. So they'll choose randomly from the remaining subdued tribes. So after a random roll, the Romans selected this allied tribe here, Namnetes, far away, out here in the sticks, far away from the action. But anyway, okay, so they added 3 allies for this event, and they got to do all that for free, as if they had control in those spaces. Okay, that's it for the Romans, their turn. Okay, so we're going to end this video here. We didn't quite get to the winter quarters. I think we're probably still another 3 or 4 cards away. We only made it through 4 cards in this video, but each card takes a while. So I'd rather end the video here and come back to it in a future video. Hopefully we can get to the winter quarters in the next video and finish out this campaign. Okay, well, I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye.